At first, as a filmmaker, I was curious about Jen's story. But after spending time with her, I realised how much it really mattered. Her business means a lot to a lot of people. It's something more than just a business. In a world where everything is starting to look and feel the same, Jen's place stands out as a point of light. Extraordinary, in the best possible sense of the word.
When I was younger, I was into music and arts and sciences. So my background was I studied environmental sciences at university. However, there was no paid work at the time and I got a job as barmaid. And whilst there, I did my diploma in brewing. So in 2013, I got made redundant. I had a 1-year-old at the time. All my family lived locally. And I started applying for jobs in brewing, but all of them were a long way away. It didn't feel right moving away from Bournemouth. Bournemouth has everything that you could want, bringing up a family. I suppose I took a step back and I said to my other half, I said, well, maybe I could open my own little brewery in Bournemouth. And him being a fellow went, yeah, go on. I started brewing my Southbourne ales and I brewed all 8 of those, of which I had the opportunity to enter one into an international brewing competition, and I managed to get a silver medal for my oatmeal stout. Sort of gave the gravitas behind the project and meant there was something to say to potential investors, hey, look, this is how good I can brew, I can win these type of awards. When I first started thinking about opening my own business, there was a lovely government organisation which had been set up with EU funding, which was a business advice centre. Those organisations, unfortunately, they don't have the funding anymore and have shut, and so they're not in place for new businesses now. In the early days of brewing my own beers, I built up a lot of people locally who were my followers as such on social media. A lot of those people came along to tastings that I ran, and they came and became my investors. And their support was unbelievable. Without them, every point of the way, you need somebody behind you saying, yeah, go for it, keep going, don't stop.
That's fine.
Every day was a little adventure of learning something new and achieving something and getting another bit of the process done.
So is this your...
That's my other half, looking very sensible at the time. So that was us in London when we were doing the crowdfunding, and he's an architectural technologist, so he did all the design work, and he also project managed all the building works that we did. It was a really nice team. We were all working together. You had the plans of what to do and you had to go and learn how to do it and then make it and do it. But we had such good fun doing it as well. We were always taking the mickey out of each other, and working as a team was just really lovely. At the moment, I'm on my own and I do miss that. I find it a little bit of a lonely world in a way here, whereas, it was great fun doing the getting it going in the first place. I think beer making is history. The man's been making beer for 13,000 years. So there's history to it, there's the science behind it, there's the design work, whether it's of pump clips or designing the recipe. There's so many different attributes. It's such a variety of things. So mashing in is the first job on a brew day, and as with making a pot of tea, the first thing is to heat the pot. It's quite a sweet beer we're making today, and it's sort of like sweet biscuity.
And what would that be called if I had to go and get one?
So we're going to call this Fairy Tale, which is very silly and girly. Just getting the nozzle ready for mashing in. We need to direct the water through the nozzle into the grains so that it helps mix them up, save us having to do all the work by hand. And then we start adding our malted barley as well as the water at the same time. And the enzymes have been activated during the malting process, which the maltster has allowed the grains to germinate, and that's the activation of the enzymes that move through the grain, and then they are ready to convert the starches there into sugars. And at the end, you're left with sticky, sweet wort with all the colours from the malts and all the flavours from the malts as well. We're going to collect that in our underback and have a taste of that because it's important to know that all the flavours are there. It doesn't smell particularly malty, but it's got very much an Ovaltine type taste. Very sweet, very, very malty. I'm sure if you drank it all the time, you'd have serious problems and the doctor would be telling you off. And then we start adding a variety of different hops. So these are really sort of like lemony, sort of like, I don't know if anybody can smell them from where they are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just really sort of like fresh. So these, we're going to put them into the work kettle. They need to go into the hop. The first lot that we add are what we call the bittering hops, and they're going to need an hour's boil, and that is going to stabilise the compounds inside them, which are the bittering compounds, which are what gives the beer stability. And that hour's boil also is making it so that the beer is sterile, and is why beer's been drunk all around the world in every civilization, really. Slovenia, its biggest GDP is hops. That's what they do, they grow hops. The next part of the process is getting it ready to start transferring it. Digging out the grains is definitely the most physically challenging. It is a really long day. It doesn't matter what size kit you've got, and you've got to keep going. You can't just go, yeah, I've had enough now. So we've just added the hops. They're the late hops, and they, instead of giving the bitter flavour in of the hops, it's all the essential oils. The first hops had the same essential oils, but they've all evaporated off during the boil. So by adding more hops at the end, so we'll get those melon and lemony flavours that we were talking about when we were smelling the hops at the beginning. Once we've got the core solution going around, then we can start going through the heat exchanger, which is a series of metal plates with rubber gaskets between them. And between every other plate, we have cold water going one way, and then we have our hot work going the other way. Because we'll add the yeast in at that point as well, where the yeast are going to convert the sugars into ethanol. Then the biggest part of your quality is making sure everything's clean. If you've got poor hygiene, you cannot make good beer ever. I like the fact that you've got real raw materials, you know, they come from farms. They're just lovely products to feel, to smell, to taste, and then converting them into something totally different. Most people do it because of their passion about it. That first sip, you see it in their face, and that, oh, yeah, I like that. So I've got my very last barrels of my bitter and my red ale, and then I've got the first barrel of my one of my new ones. So would you like a little taster to decide? Yeah, I've got another new one in the line, but it's not quite ready yet. So that's the bitter, that's the red, and that's the new one.
Yeah, what's the new one called?
At the moment, it is called Fairy Godmother.
Fairy Godmother. Pint of Fairy Godmother. We're quite lucky because we have people that come regularly for different music. So we've got our Tuesday crowd, our Wednesday crowd. They're not the same people every night. There's some people that are local that come in more than one night of the week. There's other people that you can guarantee they'll be in every Wednesday, but you won't see them any other day of the week.
If you're going to go for a drink in Westbourne and you're going on a pub crawl, the natural path is to make your way into Bournemouth. And obviously this is on the way, this is on Pool Hill, so you're going to end up in this pub. I suppose from the outside it's not that noticeable. Once you go inside you see like you got a cinema room in a pub. You know, what other pubs have that? So you hear it from word of mouth, but also once you've gone in there then you get to know. It's a pretty cool pub.
Personally, it's my first time being here. I never knew it was here before, so I was a bit confused. I came down here, there's all this stuff going on down here. But it's definitely somewhere I would go again, because it's very unique. It's unlike many of the pubs in Bournemouth.
Also downstairs we've got a function room which we have a lot of environmental group use it, so Greenpeace come in once a month. We even had a church there last year. Come and do my cleaning jobs quietly, creeping around and listening to them singing beautifully. It's a space to be used by the community and to bring people together.
Do you know this place also has they brew just in the next room upstairs?
I didn't know, I had no idea.
So the lady upstairs, she does it all herself and she makes the beer. So what you're drinking
That's impressive. Cool.
What she just made over there, yeah.
This place doesn't really advertise that it does brew its own beer. Where if you went to like somewhere like brewhouse down the road, they brew it in front of you. It's very, very visible. But somewhere like this, if they do it in another room where you don't see it, you might not be aware.
We're born here, and we've only found this place about maybe a year ago or so. So that's how unknown it is.
I think once you start coming here, that's when you sort of realise that it's sort of different compared to other places that you would usually go to.
If you want to hear live music in Bournemouth, then you can either come here, you go to Brass House. There's only a couple places in Bournemouth that have live music, and this is one of them.
Right, this afternoon, this is Too Smooth for the Blues.
Every Wednesday night they have a jazz band here, and this is called Matthew Found and Friends. I'm just a big fan of jazz. We go to jazz about 4 times a week, 3 or 4 times a week. We come regularly. We know everyone, and Jenny has the heart of gold.
Do you both like jazz? Yeah.
We love Jennifer as well. So she's really her personality makes us come back as well. Yeah.
I think this is one of the best places to listen to live music. There's not a lot of places around here that plays this kind of music.
Well, jazz is interesting because it's improvised music, so you never know quite how it's going to go. So it's like having a conversation on stage.
This is called You Don't Know What Love Is.
When you hear certain tunes, it takes you back from the past. So it's not just a great thing about listening and enjoying the music, but it takes you back to where you first heard that tune.
Just the emotion that comes out and the acoustics of the room and the other people that are in the room and the way people are reacting. Sometimes you get people get up and they're dancing and you just realise that they're having such a lovely time. And for me, that's my motivation in life, is people having a good time.
Last Wednesday of every month we do a big jazz jam, and it was always a great opportunity for people just to come who are interested in jazz, who can come and play, drink some nice beer, and just be in some kind of community. It's such a great artefact of a small business in Bournemouth that is still doing its own thing. The jazz club has changed hands a few times. It was run by a guy called John Lloyd, and now it's run by David, who's just putting so much effort into the publicity of it as well, which I think is not only what microbreweries need, but also what jazz and the live music community needs as well.
It's always challenging. There's always new hurdles to get over in business. There's always stresses, and you just got to find a way of dealing with it and not carrying it with you every day. And when you come to having a tap room, you're the public face. You've got to be smiling no matter what's gone on all day and when everything else has gone on. What gets me up in the morning? I get about 6 hours sleep a night, if I'm lucky. Tonight was 5.5. I go to sleep as soon as I get in bed. Within seconds, I'm often asleep. But
When I wake up, there's always loads to do. There's always stuff to be getting on with, and I'm not one for sitting around waiting for life to happen. And, you know, brew days and packaging days are the best days in a way. And, you know, when there's, you know, you've got a band on and it's going to be really, really busy. However, the amount of beer that's brewed in this country, the big boys are making and selling most of it. So there's always room for smaller people. It's just whether the public will take that step and go, yeah, I'm not going to drink mainstream and I'm going to support local small businesses. Bournemouth has recently been struggling with lack of footfall, which is partly due to the current economic climate, but it's also to do with the fact that people that live in the town just aren't coming into the middle of town. They'll come along the seafront and they'll go to the suburbs, but they're just not going out into town. And the quieter it gets, the quieter it gets. You know, it's a great town. There's still great businesses and people should be coming in. I think this has helped me realise what the business actually is to people. There's so many people these days that are sat at home on their own feeling alone, where there's a whole community out there of people that are enjoying life and want to be friends with them, you know, and that people should come out and, you know, enjoy the party of life. You know, that's what we're here for. We're for living, not for waiting for something that won't happen in the future. You've got to get on with life every day.